You look up when you desire to be exalted, and I look down because I am exalted. Who among you can at the same time laugh and be exalted? Who climbs upon the highest mountains laughs at all tragedies, real or imaginary. Untroubled, scornful, outrageous. This is how wisdom wants us to be. She is a woman who never loves anyone but a warrior. Oline, and radiant regards to all who care and dare to listen. I'm here today to talk about a subject that has been much on my mind of late, and that is self-love. But it is impossible to consider or discuss this subject without including a couple of other terms, such as love, compassion, and empathy. So where to begin? Well, lately I've been revamping some pages on nematta, and in particular, the portal page to visitors and the portal page to planetary tantra. My intention is to make the material on nematta, including the theory and practice of planetary tantra, more direct, more accessible, and user-friendly to those who find their way to the campus of the Sophianic School of Arts and Sciences. Now, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say in this talk. I will range over a series of topics. But one thing is certain. There is one point I wish to make, and I would leave that with you as the takeaway. How you must change your sense of humanity. I've talked about this before, and needless to say, I may repeat myself a little here, but I'm trying to give it all that I have said before, trying to bring it together in a distillation and direct it to you in a particular way that reaches you at a particular place in yourself. I've said before, for instance, that every human animal has a sense of humanity which consists of two parts. One is just that sense, that feeling, I am human. And I look at other human animals and I confer on them the same feeling of being human. So you could call that what? A gut instinct, a profound intuition. It's a sense. But additional to that, everyone has a concept of humanity. And the big question that comes up there is, where does it come from? Where did you get your concept of humanity from? And the answer to that in most cases, well, in all cases, is that you didn't invent it yourself. So no one of you walking around out there invented your own concept of humanity. You might think you did, but that is really not the case. Even I myself received a concept of humanity from others when I was a child. And usually that happens through religion, doesn't it? So if you're born into Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, or any other type of religion or faith that you can name, it comes to you with a narrative, a story, a creation story. And in that creation story, you find a concept of humanity. For instance, in Judeo-Christianity, the concept says that you are created in his image. You are created in the image of the Creator. This is an extremely ancient and powerful meme, and widely accepted by many people. How many times have you heard it mindlessly repeated? Well, we are created in God's image, and so we ought to behave in such and such a manner, namely in obedience to the dictates and rules and moral precepts coming down from the Father God, in whose image we are created. Of course, I completely deny and refute that proposition in the book titled Not in His Image. So there you have it. That's what I say, invoking the spirit and velvet voice of Ray Charles. What I say. And there's something else that I say. You certainly noticed by now. I use a greeting, Olin. This is a Nahuatl word, and it is a key theme in Mesoamerican and Aztec mythology. In the Aztec paradigm of the 5 suns or 5 ages, we are said to be living in the 5th sun or the 5th age. This paradigm is illustrated on the famous Aztec calendar stone. And the name of the 5th age is Olin. I equate it directly with Kali Yuga. Olin, as interpreted by scholars who look into Aztec mythology, appears to refer to how this age will end. So it refers to earth movement, earth changes, earthquakes. Olin means a powerful movement of the earth, of the entire physical world. So the mythology, as usually interpreted, says that the 5th sun, the current age, Kali Yuga, will end in geophysical catastrophes. But there is another connotation of the word Olin, and this is deeply embedded in the syntax of Nahuatl. It actually refers to the movement of the heart, heartbeat. Now, if you put these two connotations together, what do you have? You have an association between the geophysical movement, upheaval, and catastrophic transformation of the planet and a change of heart. The two events are actually one event. They happen at the same time, and they are happening right now. And so you must change your sense of humanity to know what is happening. You might recall the notorious phrase from the manifesto of the transhumanists at the World Economic Forum: we will change what it means to be human. Well, that comes from them as a threat, a vile and malicious threat that expresses their intention to transform humanity into their image, those who now consider themselves to be the living gods on earth, the technocrats and the transhumanists. And by stating their agenda and pursuing their agenda across the world, they put you in a war zone. So there is a war underway. And central to that war is the question, the theme of Olin. It could be said and has been said by thoughtful people who have tried to assess the current situation in the world, that the moment has come for humanity to change. Humanity stands at a threshold of change. But how can this occur? I propose to you that it occurs one individual at a time. Oline, a change of heart is at hand. The moment to change your sense of humanity is at hand. And as that happens, one individual at a time, that is how humanity can change and really change for the better, to move into the beauty to come, and not to change in the way the transhumanist overlords would like to see it go. Now, I said I didn't know how I'm going to proceed in this talk. It's spontaneous, and right now, I'm going to take a plunge, and I invite you to plunge with me deeply into some Gnostic intel of a highly esoteric kind. You could call it occult wisdom. And this wisdom belongs uniquely to the paradigm of the living gnosis today. And it comes into the world framed in the Sophianic narrative, the fallen goddess scenario, and in no other way. There is no other way to present this, and no other place to find this particular nugget of occult wisdom. It concerns the mutation of A11. And you might ask, what is A11? Well, that is the future mutant strain of humanity that can and will arise out of the current global catastrophe. A10 refers to the preceding strain. A means anthropos. So when you came into this world, and before you, countless generations of others came into this world, they appeared in the habitat of the earth, which is the setting of a divine experiment set up by the aeons in the galactic core. You came into the world as an example of A10. That is the 10th strain of the anthropos. There having been 9 previous experiments in which human animals, just like you and I, lives on other planetary systems in this galaxy. So A10 refers to those human animals in the 10th experiment. And A11 also refers to those in the 10th experiment, but with the exceptional case that they are mutating toward the next experiment. So there is already an emergent mutant strain appearing. That is A11. Now, how does A11 occur? How is this mutation to be accomplished? Well, the Gnostic intel, based on the sacred narrative, says that it happens by the shift of histones. Do you know what histones are? Histones. They are protein structures attached to the master double helix coil of DNA. And in some mysterious manner, which geneticists do not fully understand, the position of the protein-based histones on the genetic coil affect how the coil behaves. Now, years ago, I wrote a unit for metahistory on the shift of the histones, and I related it directly to the Aztec motif of Oline, and I showed how the Aztec glyph or symbol for Olean can be construed as referring to the double helix genetic structure. For your interest, should you be so inclined, that article is now available as a unit on metahistory in Course 8 on Kali Yuga. And the title is The Cipher of Olean. Now, I don't want to go too far into the fancy esoteric factors in the proposition I'm developing. My point in bringing it up is to inform you in the strongest possible terms that the planetary animal mother herself, while she's going through massive geophysical changes at this point in Kali Yuga, is also undertaking a specific task to mutate a new strain of humanity that will stand completely separate from A10. And A10, those human beings who do not, in some way, and I'll get to that, participate in this mutation, will fall away and die like dead cells. And that process is called apoptosis, the shedding of dead cells. So the planetary animal mother will shed a great measure of living human animals through apoptosis, just like your body constantly sheds cells. And all through nature, you can see examples of apoptosis. Now, taking all that into account, and it is a vast proposition, I admit, I want to focus your attention on two aspects of this event, the mutation of A11. First, what is Gaia Sophia herself doing to bring about this mutation? And second, what can you or any human individual do to participate in that event? Well, she is changing the conditions in the atmosphere globally, because the atmosphere to her is like her skin. She's doing a makeover. And all those massive earth changes, the sinkholes, the volcanoes, tsunamis, change in the jet stream, sprites in the sky, change in the Birkeland currents of the northern lights, change in the many focal points of the magnetic field of the earth, because it no longer has simply a north and south pole. The dance of the poles of the magnetic field of the earth, and more, all of this is her action on her scale. And within those geophysical changes, she is introducing into the atmosphere certain chemical components. She is saturating the atmosphere with chemistry that will induce this mutation at the genetic level. Primary instrument, so far as I can tell, in bringing that process ahead is sulfur. Well, sulfur and methane are important factors in the way she is handling the conditions that favor this mutation. So she is setting up the conditions for the mutation of A11 in the planetary laboratory. This is a topic of hot discussion on Nematta. Now, additional to what she's doing on her scale, a great part of which is beyond human comprehension, there is the factor of human participation. How can you participate in the mutation of A11? How can you become A11, the new strain of humanity, and distinguish yourself from A10? It's simple. you select into the process. It will not just happen to you because the Earth Mother herself, on the grand scale of her life, is producing the conditions. Your consent is required. She requires your consent, and she requires that you select into this mutation. Today, I can only talk about one aspect of how you do that. You do it by a change of heart in your sense of humanity and in your concept of humanity. I've already given you another concept of humanity, haven't I? I've said that right now on this planet, there are two strains of the anthropine species, A10, which is due to die off, and A11, which moves into the beauty to come. Do I have your attention so far? Does this topic engage you? Does it reach you? Does it touch a passionate place in you? Well, if it does, I invite you to go to Nemitta, to Planetary Tantra, to listen to the remainder of this talk. Why do I do that? Well, obviously, I use my YouTube channel to draw people to the school for my own benefit. At the same time, I do it for your benefit. How so? This topic is not something that you can or should handle on your own. If you are really moved by the possibility of a change of heart and a change of the sense and concept of humanity that brings you into alignment with the mutation of A11, you would do well to put yourself in the company of others who have that same concern and share that same incentive. And you can find that company and that venue of discussion in the forum of Planetary Tantra. So I invite you there, and I would like you, if you can, to do something for me. Right now, the site says that there are 1,524 people going to that school in Nemitta to course 16, Planetary Tantra, which is free and open to everyone and has an enormous amount of material for your enjoyment and your education. And I would like to see that number go to 1550. It's important to me, not only to build the school, obviously, but also so that I have some assurance that this extraordinary message I'm putting out to you is growing and reaching more people so that it builds. So I invite you to make that move, and I look forward to seeing you on the campus.